So this is the first video for operating system. Here we are going to talk about the introduction to operating system. So what do we mean by operating system? We have to understand that the operating system is nothing but it is an interface that is happening between the user and the computer, or you can say user and hardware. So you have user, that is the people who is working in the computer, and then the computer. That is mainly we are talking about the hardware. Hardware means the CPU, the memory, the IO devices, all are included as the hardware. So how does this operating system act as an intermediate to the user as well as the computer? So interface means what? Interface means mediator. It is something, mediator we know helps in communication, right? So here operating system help as a mediator, like which helps like communicating, do the functions, do the task between the user and the computer. Now let us see what do we mean by OS and how it acts as a mediator between the user and the computer. Now operating system is actually a software which is basically used to manage the hardware. We know hardware is like, when hardware is these IO devices, the CPU, memory are all coming under the hardware section. In order to manage all of these hardware, we need a software, and that software is basically called as the operating system. Now you have to understand, we basically have this two kind of softwares: system software and application software. What do we mean by system software? System software are those software which is managed in the hardware, and application software are those software which perform some task, where we perform some task. For example, if you consider MS Word, in MS Word we are writing some text files, right? Text. Then these where we do these functions, when we are in a media player where you are watching any movies, or a music player where we are hearing some music, all this were considered to be application software where we perform some task, that is application software. But system software like OS and drivers are considered to be drivers which are considered to be called as system software because they are managing our hardware. Now let us consider, this is the main flow of the program. So in this program flow you have the user, that is we. What we do is that we use the MS Word to write some text and all, right? So through the application we will do some functions. Now if you want to save this file and we wanted to process these files and all, we need to send it to the hardware, the CPU, to process these files. And then if you wanted to display this file also, we have to send it to the hardware. Through the output unit only you can display this file that we have written in the MS Word. So applications cannot directly interact with the hardware. They need operating system to interact with the hardware. So there is no direct connection between application and hardware. This is the messages or whatever is basically has to be passed through the operating system to executed by the CPU, to execute by the CPU. So consider a simple example here. You are writing a C program, and in this C program you are writing a source code. Okay, so source code which is the human readable form. We know what is soft code, what is source code. This is something which is considered the human readable code. Now this source code, let us say we write in the C printf hello. This is the source code, the human readable form. Now we have saved it in the hard disk, that is in the secondary memory you are saving this source code. And now we are compiling it. Now after you have saved, you put through GCC we will compile the C code that you have write. Now the C code would convert the source code into the machine code, but still it is there in the hard disk. But CPU has a problem. CPU cannot execute those in the hard disk. They can only execute the instructions or the informations present in the main memory or the RAM. So what does it do? In order to make this program, that is this program to be executed, the OS would load this program from this hard disk, from the secondary memory to the main memory RAM. OS would load this program, then only it will go for the execution, for the program to run. Now CPU can execute it. So program needs OS for later if you wanted to access any file or print the result and all. or if you wanted to allocate any memory, all is done through the OS. Program needs OS for memory allocation, for file access, for printing it on the screen. For all this function, the program requires whom? The program requires OS to do all these functions. So we have to understand that operating in this way, the operating system acts as an intermediate. So this is an example in which the flow of execution actually come. So C program, then it becomes a source code, then we saved it, compile it, run and execute. So in order to do that, we need operating system to reach the source code directly to execute them. So an intermediate acting here would be the operating system. So this is just the things that we have already told. What do we mean by application software? These are user program which cannot directly access the hardware. It asks OS for the help, right? OS which manages the hardware. Hardware is a CPU, memory, disk and all those things. So this is the introduction part to operating system.